Hello and welcome to Today in History. My name is Sotomie Efiesimama. Thanks for dropping by. Let's get started with what happened in the year 930. The world's oldest parliament, the Icelandic Parliament, also called the Althingi or the Althing, was established on this day. So the year was 930. We move on to the year 1868, and a man called Christopher Latham Sholes, Christopher Latham Sholes, was granted a patent on this day for a typewriter. There we have Christopher, as you can see in the picture there. So he was basically the inventor of the typewriter. He was a newspaper editor, and there are claims by others to have invented the machine as well, but Sholes is widely believed to have produced the first commercially successful model. 1894, on this day, the International Olympic Committee is founded at the Sorbonne in Paris at the initiative of Baron Pierre de Coubertin. The IOC, for short, is responsible for organizing the Olympic Games and similar events. Born on this day is King Edward VIII, pictured right here. We move on. Just a brief summary about King Edward VIII. If anyone knows, Edward VIII, later Prince Edward, Duke of Windsor, Edward Albert Christian George Andrew Patrick David, was King of the United Kingdom and the dominions of the British Empire and Emperor of India from 20th January 1936 until his abdication on the 11th of that year, so 11th of December of that year. The reason why he abdicated was to marry his darling, who was an American divorcee, which was frowned upon by the British royal family. So he had to abdicate to marry the woman that he loved. So this is the current queen's uncle who abdicated. So if he hadn't abdicated, our current queen wouldn't have been the queen today. So that's him there for you. Born on this day in 1894. Alan Turing was also born on this day. He's born in 1912, and let's find out a bit more about Alan Turing. Here's a picture of Alan Turing. He was an English mathematician, a computer scientist, logician, cryptanalyst, philosopher, and theoretical biologist. Multi-talented guy. Turing was highly influential in the development of theoretical computer science, providing a formalization of the concepts of algorithm and computation with the Turing machine, which can be considered as a model of a general-purpose computer. Turing is widely considered to be the father of theoretical computer science and artificial intelligence. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. We move on to the year 1931. Wiley Post, so it's spelled W-I-L-E-Y, and Harold Gatty. I'll show you a picture of them. So these young men here were an American-Australian team, so American meaning from the United States. They start their record-breaking flight around the world on this day. The American-Australian team was the first to circumnavigate the planet in a single-engine plane. After several stops, they returned to Roosevelt Field 8 days later. It took nearly 2 weeks less than the previous record holder, the German airship Graf Zeppelin. 1961, on this day, the Antarctic Treaty comes into force. The treaty was the first arms control agreement signed during the Cold War. It sets Antarctica aside as a scientific preserve and prohibits military activities on the continent. So that happened on this day in 1961. The Antarctic Treaty was signed. 1989, the movie Batman premieres. I'm sure very, very familiar to many of my viewers. It was directed by Tim Burton, starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. We move on to West Africa. 3 parties were given full registration as political parties by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, on this day. The 3 parties were the AD, the PDP, and the APP. So that happened on this day in Nigeria in 2002. Moving on to the year 1992, I beg your pardon. Yitzhak Rabin, his Labour Party wins. And that's Yitzhak Rabin for you. He wins the election in Israel. He becomes the country's 5th prime minister. For his engagement in a peaceful solution to the Middle East conflict, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1994, together with Shimon Peres and Yasser Arafat. A year later, Rabin was assassinated by a Jewish extremist. Obviously, this Jewish extremist didn't like the fact that he was trying to make peace, lasting peace in the Middle East. So that's Yitzhak Rabin for you. Last but not least, on this day in 2016, the UK votes to leave the European Union. Just over half of the electorate voted for Brexit, Britain's exit from the EU. The UK had been part of the Union since 1973. On that note, we wrap it up for today in history. Thank you for watching, guys. Do not forget to like this video if you do like it, and don't forget to subscribe as well. I do appreciate it. Click the notification bell so that YouTube lets you know of my video uploads. Thanks again, guys. Have a fantastic day and stay safe. Bye-bye.